confused. So it makes sense that he would be quick and to the point. Now, Christa, I want to ask you about this because, as Gabriel mentioned, a lot of effort here to distance George Wagner from his family, saying over and over again he was an outsider, that he wasn't like his family, and that he actually was trying to chart his own course here. How does that typically work when you watch these cases? Does it really ring true for the jury to see that perhaps someone does not fall in line with their family?
Well, I mean, I guess I haven't seen too many cases where you have like a family intertwined in such a horrible crime, but I thought what was important the defense did here is he kind of outlined that I want you, the jury, to pay attention to these five things, right? And it was, one that about what Jake would say, who already pled guilty, that he won't say that George was involved. He will not say that George pulled the trigger. And then he asked them to look at the credibility of these witnesses that were his family members that got these sweet deals. And then he went through, in that respect, look at the sentencing of Jake. And so he kind of went through all of what was the motive. And then finally, the difference between George and his family. And I think that this is where this was such a really good opening statement, is that it really kind of synthesized what the jury should pay attention to for the defense. And that way, when he comes back at the end of the case, he can really hammer on this, because this is where the reasonable doubt lies, is in these 5 points. I think that it was an excellent job of kind of trying to separate George from his family and showing that he was the one that was credible here. And by contrast to a very opening statement, and I agree with Gabe that this kind of opening statement oftentimes loses a jury. Most jurors absolutely do not want to be there. And they ultimately, at the end of the day, jurors do a really good job. And they kind of get invested in the case as it's unfolding. But to open up right out of the gate with this long opening statement that could have been synthesized down to an hour, I am sure, probably was a big mistake on the prosecution's part, because that shows complicated, and by contrast, the defense shows, clarity. And I think that is kind of what I saw in the contrasting opening statements.
Christa, you're right. The defense laying out those 5 points really helped to sort of crystallize the case in this very convoluted line of details that the prosecution put out. Now, we have just learned that the trial is adjourned for the day, so there will be no more action.